Hi, David. How are you?
I'm awesome, thanks. How are you?
So, tell who you are, where are you from, and why you joined the military.
All right. David Vargas was from up north, born in New York, grew up in Rhode Island, little state, and there's some military members throughout my life that were in my family. My best friend growing up, though, Steve Roberts, he was the big gung ho guy in high school, and I used to spend time with him. And he entered the military before I did. He signed up, went to the Air Force. So when it was my time to say, right after high school, it was that. What else do I do? Started doing the college route. And then I started looking at, of course, getting the GI Bill, seeing getting schooling paid for, and I was just looking more towards like the benefits. Um, so I went to an all forces recruiter station, and originally I was looking at the Marines and then looked at the Army. I looked at the branches, but it really came down to the schooling for me. So when I went for the schooling, I just decided like what it is that I wanted to do when I potentially left the military, how I was going to incorporate in my life. So I decided to go with the Air Force, and I started with that as in the satellite communications side of things.
And what was your biggest challenge during your military career?
My biggest challenge, um, I found the I found the military fairly easy at the very beginning. I was just one of those kids that always ironed his clothes anyways. I always made my bed in the morning, made sure my shoes were lined up. I already did that stuff. So when I got into the military, it was almost like I found a place where everybody had to be like me already. And it made it very easy. So challenge, I guess the biggest challenge was honestly authority. you know?
Hmm.
Growing up, I didn't have a whole lot of discipline growing up. But when I got into the military, that translated to realize that, like, that shit's not going to fly here, son. So it was a lot of goofing off. I was a class clown in school, and then that translated over to the military, and I realized that's not the right place to do that stuff. So,
Definitely not.
yeah, so I learned a few lessons there, of course, and yeah.
So, how did the military service shape you as a person?
As a person,
Or how hard was to leave your military career and start a civilian
all right, well,
person?
the thing is, I did some active duty time, and then the rest of my career was in the National Guard. And really, what happened is when I went to the National Guard, I was able to have my civilian life back, anyways. That was I made the switch. I wanted to make sure that I had my civilian life. I had ideas, different, businesses. I started stuff of the sort like that. So the transition was pretty simple for me. It was really warranted. I knew I wanted to stay in the military. I loved it. It wasn't so much like the camaraderie is fantastic, but it's more so like I said, the structure, um, the mentality of having to paying attention to the details of things, and just always looking towards the end results. It just forces you to understand that even if there's a whole bunch of people you may or may not like, you get along with them because that's the mission first, right? It's mission first, and
Yeah.
then all your differences are aside, and you're all focused on the same thing. That's the brotherhood that I like, where it's just stay focused on the main goal, deal with everything else afterwards. And that was kind of the main focus I pulled from the military, is just regardless of your likes or dislikes, just stay focused on what's important at hand and keep that distance and just stay focused on the details,
Hmm.
the here in the moment, and you'll get to your goal. So,
Okay. And how do you stay connected with other veterans or veterans community, or how important is that for you?
very important, very important. I mean, again, so separating from the military, like I said before, it wasn't so much of a challenge to separate from them. But what happens is when you're used to being in that band of brothers, you're used to being part of something larger than just yourself. You find yourself, or at least I found myself looking for those avenues. Not really looking. It was hindsight being 2020. As an adult, looking back, realizing, oh, that's what I was doing. I was searching for that group, for that. doing something that was bigger than myself. Because every time I just went after my own personal little goals, they worked out, but it wasn't, ultimately, I realized it wasn't as satisfying. When you're doing something for the greater cause, something much larger than you, and then you wind up connecting with other people who are just as passionate, just as disciplined, and just as focused as getting it done, that's when you start realizing, or I started realizing, I should say, the whole word synergy exists. You know, how so many other things in life just push you forward. You know, a lot of things manifest in your life when you just surround yourself with a lot of the people who are in the same direction as you, focus on the same goal as you. You tend to move through life a lot faster. And that's really when, instead of leaving the military, being involved in all that, it kept me in the world of what else can I do? You know, I always wanted to give back to the veterans. Always took lots of reverence, a lot of pride for our veterans throughout history, especially World War II, Korean War, Vietnam. My Lord, you know, I've always give lots of reverence to those guys because these are the ones that go out there, serve their country, come back, and you know, we're called baby killers. You know, Vietnam era was a tough era. I don't know how. I don't know if I would have been able to, you know, deal with some of the things that they've dealt with on the return back, you know, from serving their country. So I always tried to stay focused to see what else I could do to give back. And then it wasn't until I moved back out here to Florida. I came out to Florida about, at this point, it was over a decade. I think it was about 11 years now. But out here in Palm Harbor, I've been out here for about almost 4 years now, 3.5 years. And I found a home here, you know, and I've lived everywhere, traveled around quite extensively. And Palm Harbor, little old Palm Harbor, Florida, just became part of my DNA as soon as I landed here. If we get into the details of how I landed here, it's completely ordained. You know, just some of those things in life where this, you know, you go left instead of right, you zig instead of zag, and you wind up in these places, and it was just green lights. I landed here, and everything seemed like this is where I'm going to place my roots, stay ingrained in the community. So it was from that point forward, I said, well, let me go. I started a laser engraving company. And I said, well, let me get involved in the Chamber of Commerce. So once I came through the Chamber of Commerce here, I realized that there wasn't a lot of, you know, Florida is, I think, like the second largest military-friendly state in the country, outside of Texas, and of course we have Tennessee and whatnot. And when I came to Palm Harbor, I didn't see a huge military community, so to speak. You know, not that I was looking for it, but I just realized it wasn't there. And being at the Chamber of Commerce, at least in Palm Harbor, it's an unincorporated town, meaning we don't have a local government, city hall. So I was seeing a lot of people reaching out to this building, this organization, for all sorts of, you know, county things like voter registration and stuff like that. People not knowing, and then we're getting a lot of questions about veterans, as far as where would they go, where's the VA, stuff like that. So when I had brought it to the attention to the president of the chamber, he just said, why don't we have anything? So we'll go create it. So at that point I did. You know, I decided, let's see what's lacking in the community. Decided to get together and just we put up a post as far as, hey, this is we're gonna start a veterans organization around here, see who's around. And you know, the first meeting we had kind of took off. There was a lot of people that showed up. And ironically, it was the following month we had our second meeting. And at the time, they were just sitting here telling me at the chamber, they were saying, well, you're not promoting for it. Like, you're not promoting to the, you know, who do you, it's not going to really have a big show. And I said, well, I don't need to, because the way I looked at it is, if we're going to make an organization here, we're going to do something really good, then I don't want to have to, you know, remind or drag people who are in the military to put on their calendar to be at an appointment. I said, the people that want it will be here. So I made no announcements, no posts, no newsletter. And then the following month, 4 people showed up. And those 4 people are, to this day, you know, board members of the Pinellas County Veterans Association. So once we got that taken off, it just, you know, it skyrocketed. You know, it's within. We started having our meetings, then the community got involved. Then we started giving back and making a name for the veteran community out here, connecting with other veteran organizations. Because Florida, there's, my God, I think Pinellas County alone is over 4,000 or four, veteran organizations around the state. So we just started reaching out, connecting to every other veteran organization out there. Tonos the Towers, all of them, from VetX, Veterans Council of Veterans, USO, and just not trying to be everything for everybody, just trying to be a solid resource, more a charter, so to speak, where no matter who calls us from whatever part of town, we have a collaborating partner where we can plug them into. Someone comes to us with a PTSD question. If it's not something we can handle in house, we turn around, we just point them in the direction to where they can go get the help that they need. And that's about it. From there, we decided to start doing some personal missions. One of the facilitators over at the retirement centers out here, Highland Lakes Retirement Assisted Facility, assisted living facility, reached out to us and asked us if we could redo their small wall of honor that they had there. We proudly took that upon ourselves. I'll give it to all the veterans that we had on hands over there and yourself helping us out with this. We were able to create a beautiful thing there, and it kind of took off from there. We went from one organization to Meese Life to a bunch of different organizations wanting us to create their walls of honor for them. And then, of course, the other project was the Veteran Voices Project, which we thought came to the conclusion it was very important for us to, keep the reverence, keep the history of the communities here, seeing all the veterans that are in their local communities. They kind of just get lost in the wind. It's just like when I first came here, I realized until we started asking around, I didn't realize how many veterans were in this area. And that's what kind of really sparked it with us when we were talking about getting the stories out. Because there has been a bunch of things out there with veterans and war stories, and as great as they are, it's just something that's been done a million times. So creating the idea of just getting the local veterans around here, seeing their background, who they are, walking through the supermarkets or saying, hey, I know that guy, and you see his stories. And just something where, grandkids, great-grandkids can go to the library at some time and say, hey, I want to see what my peepaw did. Historically pull these books out and have a live interview that they can just see their father, their grandfather, their uncle, their brother, and just see what they're about. So it was a great way. It's very that entire process of creating this project was moving. It's a lot of the stories, a lot of the gentlemen we spoke to, just the process of going from A to B was an eye opener. It's just right. It's just you start doing something for a good benevolent reason, then you realize there's so many other things underneath it that you weren't even expecting. A lot of these, especially some of these World War II guys, just turning 100 years old, 98 years old, and now we're friends. Exactly. We're literally friends with them. So, it's I'm blessed to say I'm glad the path that I took in the military brought me to where I'm at. It's kind of almost like the whole Forrest Gump thing, randomly just going down and just planting good seeds and good soil and just keeping focused and doing the right thing, and nothing but good can come from it. And that's what happened.
So that's my next question. What advice you give to a younger generation considering the military service?
Younger generation. Well, I'm one of those people that firmly believe every male in this country needs at least 2 years in the service. So that's me. Most people who I've talked to feel the same way. It's just it instills a lot of different things. So I would tell any younger person to definitely get involved into the military. Pick a branch. Talk to a recruiter, talk to really close friends, talk to some other organization, us, whatever the case may be. Get some advice. Choose what you really want to do, but definitely do the military. Definitely sign up to go to the military, even if it's for the National Guard. just to do a couple of years, but to get through the basic training and get with people like that, that's the important part. And then just stay focused. So have long-term vision. You have to have that long-term vision, that 10, 20-year mark, because I've talked to a lot of teenagers and 20-year-olds from other parents who are thinking about doing the military, or they entered and they're trying to get out, and just convince them, stay the full term, or as long as you possibly can, physically, mentally. Just stay the long term. Think about the long term benefits of a military career.
Yeah,
And,
I remember we interviewed so many people that they plan to stay 2 years, 3 years, and they stay 20 years.
Yeah, it's like once you get over that halfway mark, it's all downhill from there.
Yeah.
But it's that halfway mark. That's the tough part, where people are in for 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, and it's right there. I know a few people that are do the 12 or 14, but typically once you hit that 10 to 12 mark, you're a lifer at that point. And that's what I would suggest to any, even when I was youth group leader at one of the churches I was at, I've done the same thing. Just see it in yourself. Some people aren't meant to be in the military. They're just not. But if it was up to me, every male should be in the military. And then, keep it around your life in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And just one more question. What do you see, what is the future for the veteran voices and the Pinellas County Veterans Associations? What do you see like in 10 years?
No, 10 years. Well, Veteran Voices Project turned out to be a passion. It was a passion project that we turned it into. We started with it, and then along that process, we didn't know what you didn't know, right? You just like say, you don't know what you don't know. You just walking into it knowing only good things can come from it. So Veteran Voices, not only is it going to be staying to where we're at with the veterans, but it's already been branched off to, first responders. And, there's an entire lateral set of, additions that are going to be coming out with this. Yeah. Really just by popular requests, and we didn't expect that, but that's where we're at.
Exactly.
As far as the ironically part about it, we had a couple older gentlemen in their 90s and then some who had their own memoirs written down, and they've been sitting on it for years and not knowing what to do with it, and then they met us and just saying, here, take our story and do something with it. So it's a lot of things like that. So who knows where it's going to go in 10 years? I know it's going to be around. Pinellas County Veterans Association, well, it's growing, and the thing is, Pinellas County is only so big, but the fact of the matter is that the Chamber of Commerceers that are out here in Pinellas County, none of them actually have an outreach, a military outreach. A couple of them either had one, or a couple people in the military or veterans that have a person that they refer people to. Maybe I've seen one other Chamber of Commerce that actually does that, but the purpose behind the Pinellas County Veterans Association is to have the blueprint to have different, associations throughout all of Pinellas County. So to be more involved in the communities, to keep the veteran-owned businesses, to make sure with other large organizations like, say, the Florida Veterans Coalition, or the Patriot Chamber of Commerce, these people here that just stay in connection and bolster the community. So I see Pinellas County Veterans Association another 10 years. It's already a 501c3 IRS approved, nonprofit organization. So it's there to serve, and it's going to be an integral part of all the other organizations we see around here. So at least I think so.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, David, and thank you for your services.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm.